Okay everybody, welcome to yet another video, and what we're doing today, well, I have got nothing better to do, so we're going to go ahead and take apart Big Sky, and just show off a little bit, because I know, one, it could do with a clean, and two, well, I kind of don't really have anything to do, so that's what we're doing. Remove all these, and then we'll get stuck straight into it. Now, as you may know, or may not know if you're new to the channel, the Big Sky here is, as I like to call it, the little PC. It's the PC that I have for if I ever need to travel for work. And the thing about it is, it's quite small. It's actually incredibly small. It's 10 point something or other litres. That doesn't really matter. It's a 10 litre chassis that's got an AIO strapped to it because, yeah, which is the reason why it's 10 point something. I think it's 10.9 or something. But yeah. So that's what we'll be doing. We'll be taking about Big Sky. So we've got all the tools out. Might as well just start tearing apart. So, might as well talk a bit about Big Sky here. Now this is a PC that I've had for a long time. Like, incredibly long. Like, this actually was the original PC. Like, long before I played Redux and eventually Dante's Inferno became the monster that it is. Everything used to be housed inside this tiny little chassis over here. Like you can see, there is not much space to spare in it, but you know, it's all very compact for a reason, so it can be very easily transported anywhere. And whilst we're here, might as well get to the first major component. It's Scratch Disk SSD, which is a Samsung Evo 860 1TB. You might have seen me do a quick video using this very drive. It's a very nice little drive, worth the money. Seriously, I recommend these. These are good drives. And yeah, so that's the first part that we're going to get to. Then we're going to move on to our graphics card here, which is a GTX 1080. The OG graphics card for the channel. Like, for the longest time, this was really the only graphics card the channel was running off. Like, sure, I also had a GT 740, but that was really a display adapter. This is the genuine card the channel's been run on. Now, the reason why we're doing this is, one, because I do actually need to service these GTX 10 cards, because they run on liquid metal, and I like to change the liquid metal over every 10 months or so, and it's been 10 months, so we're going to go ahead and be taking that out and redoing liquid metal on it. Hopefully I haven't forgot how to do that. So we'll just, where's the clip? There's the clip. So for those of you that aren't too aware of what the specs of this system is, we have got a 600 watt power supply. This is a, what's it called? This is an FSP, I'm trying to think. It's their weird proprietary standard. I don't know what the actual sizing it is. Today is like FSP 700-801 UK Hind Edition. Why is it Hind Edition? Because I'll give you a clue. This isn't standard. Like this really isn't standard. What I sort of did to it is, in case I do manage to get my hands on a Founders Edition 3080 or any 3080 that has 2 slots, I went and rewired the rails. Don't do this at home, kids. This is very dangerous. You could risk blowing up your power supply if you're not careful. But it's basically wired up so that it has 2 dedicated PCIe connectors which are running across 3 rails. They do share a rail with a CPU, but the CPU is running in eco mode anyway, so that's not a problem. Speaking of the CPU, that is a 3900X. Yes, it could have been a 3900 XT, but I didn't want to wait the extra couple of months. I just wanted this thing up and running. And we will also get to a few ugly truths in a bit, but first we'll remove its hard drive. Now it's actually got 2 SSDs in this system. It's got an M.2, which is tucked away at the back, so you won't really see it for a while if I do actually get out over to it. It's got the Scratch Disk SSD, which is just a Samsung 860 Evo, you know, a very good SSD, and I highly rate it. And it's also got a hard drive. This is its main storage. This is where most of the games, pretty much anything that is mass storage wise, is stored on here. So this carries all of its games on this 8TB drive, as well as all the files that aren't in use. So it's got a copy of all the files off my PC, and essentially all the stuff that I need for the channel. It's on here. Yeah. Stuff that's currently getting worked on gets put onto the Scratch Disk. Stuff that's been finished with goes onto here. that out the way as well. Okay, so we're a bit further into substance, so now we can move this PCIe riser thing over here, which is going to reveal one of the ugly truths about this system. Now, like I said, this is a system I've had for a while, and it's taken a fair bit of modding to, you know, fit a 3900X into a 10-litre case that was never designed to have anything higher than really an i5. And yet this is carrying a CPU that can quite easily push 200 watts. You may think, how the hell do you manage that? The simple answer is with great difficulty. Because this is not just your regular 3900X. This is, you know, it is full-blown ready for overclocking, and I have overclocked with it in the past. It can overclock pretty well. It's just the problem is that it's only running on a 120mm AIO, which is not ideal for such a powerful CPU. That should be all of them. And this should just pop right out. Okay, that's very nice. That's the riser card, so that's what goes to the GPU. Very simple, it's literally just a PCB that repeats the signal over to the GPU where it sits. Put that over there as well. Okay, so we're getting a bit of a clearer look at the motherboard. So we've got, of course, our Corsair. I think it's a H50 Hydro, the one that's in here. It's a little beat up because these are rather rough edges on here with the little channels that I've cut for it. Keep in mind, this is the first time I used the Dremel, so give me a break. And then we've got the rest of it up here. So the board in here is a Phantom Gaming ITX TB3 with the X570 chipset. TB3 meaning Thunderbolt 3. Here's the thing. I'm going to just show you, but this board's actually broken. Now, it's not too bad, but like, dupe. You can see there that the actual PCI lock on it's broke, because with the SSD mount here, what basically happened was it kept catching on that and it got stuck on it, and when it came to try and undo it so I could pull that out, basically this bit here was so stuck on it that when it went to press down, it broke in half. So this has got a broken motherboard technically. It's only a plastic piece. The motherboard technically works perfectly fine. You've got 32GB of Corsair DDR4 memory running at 3200 MHz CL16. This is 2 sticks of 16GB. Really good kit. I know that some people really do like to go ahead and hate on this Corsair memory, but it does the job. It's Samsung B-Die, so it's pretty decent. And more than that, it does the job. It does what you need, and hey, what's there to complain about if it does what you need it to, right? But yeah, we can do a quick shot, because really the main reason I want to get in here was just check over how things are, see if it needs a clean or not, because it's a bit funky in this case, with the fact that its only real exhaust is its power supply, because it's got two 40mm fans in it, and this is actually a server power supply, which is the reason why they're very high speed, which means they really do actually act like a decent exhaust in this thing. They're just really annoying because they're 40mm fans. Yeah. It's also got an optical drive, because that is the drive that originally came with this many moons ago, when this was just a young system that didn't realise that I was going to overload it to hell. Now, you're wondering why the system's so important to me. This is, well, like I said, it is the original system that this channel was sort of supposed to be built on, but never was. But it is where most of my ideas came from. You know, what got me into doing all this stuff. So it's like, yeah, why not? We'll show it off a bit. But originally, this didn't have all this. This used to only have, what's it? A Pentium. A 2-core Pentium and that GT740 that I spoke of earlier. That's where that all actually originally came from, this PC. Except I decided to overload it with parts and the power supply blew up. You know? So it went from, let's see, it went from the Pentium to an i3, the GT740 to the GTX 1080, which was a hefty upgrade for something that's only got a 350 watt power supply. And then to add to its troubles, you know, 16 gigs of memory, but that's a good thing. And then I added a 4790K. Fun fact, you shouldn't add a 4790K in a GTX 1080 when they're not power limited to a system with a 350 watt power supply, because turns out a 350 watt power supply doesn't like that. Really doesn't like that. So pro tip, don't put a power supply in, or at least don't put so much stuff onto a power supply that you're going to make it blow up, because it turns out it doesn't like it. Well, another thing, you can never tell when something's in or not. There's another problem with this case. It's very temperamental. It's very much, you have to do a lot of guesswork for this. Like, the paint job on this was very much representative of just how rough and ready this thing is. Like, it's built like a tank. It's very sturdy. It's just, it's very uncooperative. And it makes you want to throw it sometimes. And I haven't thrown it yet. Notice my wording. Yet. Seriously, this case can be so uncooperative. It is unbelievable. You just want to build in it, and it's just like, nah, I want to be a pain today. Or you just want to quickly get into it, see how its dust build-up is, and it's just like, nah, I want to be a pain today. On the plus side, it does have 10 gig. Not internally, of course, because the reason why I got Thunderbolt 3 in the first place was so I could actually have a lot of external expansion, because I'm very aware of how PCIe limited I am in a lot of devices, including my main, my main PC. Not because it lacks, 7 or so. I think it's like 6. I think it's got 5 or 6 PCIe ports. It's just 1, it doesn't have the PCIe lanes, and 2, well, number 1 sort of makes the issue more apparent. That way. So it doesn't really have the PCIe lanes, but also because of the graphics card situation that I originally had, it's just, it didn't have the slots actually physically available. Whilst sure they were on the PC, that doesn't mean they were usable, because there is this limitation of space. Just because you've got 5 or 6 slots doesn't mean you can access them all, because graphics cards exist, other things exist that quite literally block the way. So yeah, that's a pain in the rear. Right. Okay, that's on nice and tight. That's all in place. That's all plugged back in. I think that's plugged back in. Just give them a nice little love push. Okay, that's all back in. That's all back in. Okay. Now, I am planning at some point to go ahead and put another drive in this. I might put another SSD. I'm not sure. I haven't decided what I want to put into it yet. But I know I do want to go ahead and use up the extra drive cage, because I do have a spare one. It's cool. It's great. It's just... It's a matter of finding something to put in it, because it has actually got a lot of stuff. It's just... don't know what. I might put in an extra SSD just for, like, game storage for stuff that is particularly big and doesn't like being on a hard drive, because it is so big that it is just slow as hell. So I'm tempted to do that. Right, we can... Let's put all this sort of back together. I'll just put all the screws back in position. So that way, I can work on 1080 and hopefully not lose anything. Losing stuff is bad. We do not lose stuff, people. I hear it precedes many bad issues. And come on, go on, go on. There we go. So here's the other thing. I'm really kind of tempted to, whatchamacallit, bloody hell. Do excuse me dropping stuff, because I am terrible. Wow, that was right on the edge. It nearly went off the edge. It didn't go off the edge, but it nearly did. So another joy of these screws is they are absolutely tiny. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a really nice design because all the screws are the same. You don't have to worry about using the wrong screw for the wrong hole. For the most part, almost all the screws are the same. From the screws that hold the motherboard down to the ones that you screw into the side of your hard drive cage, everything is the same screw. It's just, the problem with it is that the screws are absolutely tiny, they're very fiddly, and they get everywhere. So, bonus points for having the same screw, points taken off because the screws are terrible. Well, they're not terrible, they're just kind of annoying. Like, they screw in perfectly fine, they're relatively rugged, and they're not gonna, break to pieces like some screws do, which is, as we all know, a mildly big annoyance. Okay, that taken care of. We can just put this to one side, and we will go and get our graphics card. Here's the thing. We're not really removing it as much as we're just making sure the application hasn't dried up, and if it has dried up, replenish it. I do it every 6 months. I'm used to it by now. go. The world's worst screws, because I hate these sprung screws. I know why they do it, to help with tension and make sure that you get the right amount of tension. But they are the worst screws in the world, and I absolutely hate them. Also, God, the amount of void stickers on this. Warranty void if removed. Warranty void if removed. We get it. You don't want us to remove. Tough luck. We have a right to repair. Okay, now hopefully that should just drop off. Good. What I want to do is just pull you off. And there we go. Now that actually doesn't look too bad. You can see where it has been. You can see that it's for some reason blotted in the corners, but beggars can't be choosers. And I've recovered what I forgot. I forgot to get a load of cotton wool buds because I thought I had some in that pack, but it appears that they do not have any of the bower ones left. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, I know a lot of people say, oh, you shouldn't use them because yada yada, reason X, Y, Z, whatever. They're perfectly fine. As long as you're not trying to destroy them, they are perfectly fine. And for applying liquid metal, getting rid of crap around the corners, they are more than suited enough. Let's put that to one side. I use this one to see. Oh, that's brilliant. We've got a huge clump of it that appears to have squirted that side. So we can use that just to re-wet this until it becomes essentially like a mirror. It's kind of nice when you don't really have to add any extra. I mean, it... Okay, we're not going to add much. We're just going to add a teeny tiny little drop of it because it is mostly fine. I just want to be sure. Put you there. Haha! Okay. Right, now we just go ahead and screw it back together, put it back in, and we can wrap this up nicely for this one. I know this isn't probably the usual video that you expect, and you expect me doing something exciting, but you know what, sometimes I just want to take it easy sometimes and give myself some breathing room. Hence the reason why I'm just doing a simple, well, maintenance vlog of Big Sky, because it's been a while since I've touched it. It does need a clean, because it does still get used. Now you can sort of see the actual insides of it and how it's actually built up. Well, I've been doing this for half an hour, I better go ahead and hurry this up. Okay, so we're just going to remove the screws that's removing to get the graphics card back in and the exterior case panel back on, and then we are off to the races. Dupe, dupe. Make sure that's not being bent. Put you away. Grab you. Right, let's see if I can remember which way it is. I think. Yeah, you're the one that has all the power, so you're the one that gets all this to yourself. Droop. Come on. Droop. Well, let's just sit flat in there. Bippity, boppity. Slide in. And you're my property. Okay, graphics card's back in. We can go ahead and put this catch back on. We'll screw this into position, and then we will put on our case side panel, and we will be done. Kind of crazy how much this has been through, and it works perfectly fine. I keep in mind, this graphics card, I've had it for a year now. Well, a year and a half, actually. And it survived quite literally an entire system blowing up. And it still overclocks quite well every day. Yeah. I'd say for the price that I got it, this card has been an absolute gem for me. A genuine gem, and I'm happy that I have it. Cannot rate it high enough. It's a great card. It does its job. Let's screw there. Okay, I'm going to just go off camera for a moment whilst I put this case back on, because this doesn't go on easily. And there you have it. Big Sky, inside and out. So yeah, we'll go ahead and do the outro here. Yeah, so, like the video... Ooh. So, like the video, like, dislike if dislike, any thoughts or questions, leave a form in the comments down below. Don't forget to check out my Facebook, Discord, Patreon, and Twitch page, which you can find in the description down below. Hit that subscribe button and notification bell for more content from me. As always, it's the 117th con, signing off. Stay safe out there, folks, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Until then, ta-ra.